Hi, everyone. My name is David Honda. I'm one of the Math 8 teachers this year. I've recorded this video primarily for those of you that couldn't make back to school night. I know everyone has busy lives, so sometimes we just can't make these things. And also for the people who did make it to back to school night, but as you know, trying to cram information into just 10 minutes at a time wasn't exactly conducive to what I had to show you. So this is for people who just didn't get any of the information from back to school night. And for those of you that might need a recap because we were a little rushed that day. So first off, if you do have any questions after this video, I'm just going to go over a few things. My email's right at the front here, dhonda@sandy.net. You can contact me. And what I thought we'd go through today is a little bit about my background, a little bit about the class, and just some things to know, some specific stuff that might help you this year. So first off, a little bit about me. I've been at Marshall ever since we opened up both the new site and the old school, which is now Ellen Browning Scripps. Before that, I used to teach at Wilson Middle School for 5 years down in Normal Heights. So I've been teaching since 1993, all math. So if your kids need some extra help, if they need a different way to be shown something, hopefully I can, do that for them. Before that, I went to UCSD. I was an applied math major, got my teaching credential there, and just pretty much just jumped straight into teaching. On the personal side of things, I'm a family man. My wife, my 2 kids. Right now, I'm just kind of in the thick of it as far as like elementary stuff, elementary grade level things. My little boy, his name's Kendo. He's in 3rd grade, and my daughter Everly is in kindergarten. And so it's all about, getting them to school, gymnastics classes, Boy Scouts, swim class, all sorts of good stuff. So as middle school parents, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So a little bit about the class. Your kids are enrolled with me in Math 8, which means what we're going to do this year is give them a strong foundation in 8th grade math concepts. And like on the syllabus I sent home earlier in the year, there's a link to the California Department of Education, shows you a list of all the different standards that we're going to cover this year so that they can hit high school just, with a strong understanding of the math they're going to build on. If you need more details about that, like I said, email me. Beyond just the content, we're also hoping, especially for 8th graders, that we can teach them the skills they need to be successful at high school. I think one of the big things is being more independent, more proactive, realizing that school is primarily their responsibility and not their teachers, not their parents, but primarily theirs. And so one thing I often tell people, and I tell kids, I tell parents, is that 8th grade is kind of a unique year because it's their last chance to really take on some of those responsibilities for themselves before it really starts to matter at the high school level. At 8th grade, they're going to take their classes. They're going to have those moments where they try something on and maybe they fall down and they just pick themselves up again, dust themselves up and keep trying. And there's no huge risk because honestly, our grades, the grade point average, none of that transfers to the high school. And so next year, it's just a fresh start. But then next year, that's when it all matters. Grade point average matters. What electives you take matters. And so 8th grade is just kind of that final chance where they've still got a little bit of a safety net where they can try on some things, try on some responsibilities. And if they don't succeed the first time, that's okay. We pick them up and we try again. So that's a little bit about the class. So what I really wanted to get into is some specifics about how I'm running the class, what the kids see in class, so that as much as possible, you at home get a better picture of what goes on here. Because I was one of those kids. I would go home and I'd have dinner with my family. And David, how was your day? It's fine. What'd you do today? Nothing. What'd you learn about? I don't know. And that was about all my parents got out of me. So for you, I've got some things in place. First off, a typical daily routine. Now, it doesn't happen every day, but a typical day for us would start off with kind of bringing a close to the previous day's lesson. They went home with homework. And so the first thing we tackle is looking at that work, correcting it, and giving an opportunity for questions. Who's got a question? Who didn't understand this? And that's the first place where I would encourage your kids. I know at this grade level, a lot of kids are a little shy, a little hesitant to be, raising their hands, asking questions. But, again, this year is a time to work on that so that they're more proactive next year. Then we usually get into the day's lesson. That might take the form of an activity or some kind of team project or a class discussion or notes, but something new, some new concept that I'm introducing. And then once I feel like they've got a solid handle on that concept, we start on the classwork. I give the kids a good chunk of time each and every day to get started on the work. So expect almost daily assignments from me, but at the same time, also expect that the kids have been given an opportunity to start that assignment anywhere from like 25 to 35 minutes in class. So hopefully what you're seeing coming home reflects that when you ask them, hey, do you have any math homework? Well, what they pull out is something that's partially finished that they just need to finish up. Okay. Sometimes on rare occasions, maybe it's totally complete. But you can always check that too by going to Google Classroom, which we'll get into in just a sec. Now, once they've done that, what we'll usually do to wrap up the day is I have them, I'm trying something new, but I use Google Classroom, as I just mentioned, and I'm using it as a way to give you a peek into how they're spending their time. So let me switch my background here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. This is going to look a little weird for a minute here. I apologize. All right, so one thing you need to know that will help is I'm using Google Classroom. And the first thing, I highly recommend that you steal your kids' account information. Okay, I know Google Classroom has a parent guardian summary email thing that you can sign up for, but honestly, that's very limited information. And if you really want to be able to see much more useful info, you need to log in as a student. So that's what I would do. I would log in as your kid, just get their ID and password. A lot of you probably already have it, and be able to log in as them. So a few things I want to point out. Most of everything that you want to see is under Classwork. So if you click the Classwork tab, this is where I post that daily work. It's organized so that the most recent stuff is always on top, and whatever chapter we're working on is always on top. So if you want to see, hey, what did you guys do? What do you have due? You can see the due dates over here to the right. And if I click, you can see literally step by step what I want the kids to do. So this was a class from yesterday. Step one was to have them work on the worksheet, which was on something of equations with variables on both sides. So for them, I had the worksheet printed out, but I also have the file here for the kids who are absent. And then step two, this is something, again, that I'm doing new this year, is I have the kids take a picture of what they've accomplished during the work time. Not what they've finished, not a finished assignment, but what basically a reflection of how well did they use their class time. I thought that'd be something that would give you a sneak peek into how are your kids spending their time in class. Are they putting good quality time in, or are they getting maybe distracted a little bit and they could be a little bit more productive in class? The UDuke challenge, you can ask your kids about that. That's not something I want to get into with parents. But then the last step is typically whatever they didn't get done in class, that's their homework. And as I said before, they've already had a good amount of time to finish work in class. They should just have to wrap it up, maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes. All right. And so each time we have an assignment, that'll get posted there. Now, if I scroll down to the second folder will always be the resources folder. And there's two big things I want to point out here. Especially if your child is ever absent. Being absent is always rough because that means they've got all sorts of classes to get caught up in when they come back. So, if it's just a mild cold, they're sick, and you don't want them to come to school, get other kids sick, but at the same time, they're feeling well enough that they can get some work done. The two big things here that we've got is links to notes and links to tutorials. So going back to up here, this was lesson 1.3a. And so there was an assignment. So if your kids, before jumping into that assignment, want to know what was the lesson, well, there's these two resources. Links to notes. I'm lucky enough to co-teach with Mrs. Gordon, who, while I'm actually having the class discussion with the kids, she is doing the same as the kids and taking the same notes that they are. And what she does each and every time we do a lesson is she posts those notes to this link. So you can see right here, we've got a folder for the class. And so if I were to go back to that same lesson I was just referring to, sorry, my internet's a little slow here, that there is a copy of those notes. So what did I just say? 1.3a. So if I click on that same lesson number, there's her cleaned up copy of the notes. And she goes a step beyond. She tries to clean it up so it's legible. She color codes things. And so it's a real nice copy of the exact same thing we did in class that day. And so your kids can print this out, they can put it in their notebook, and they are caught up on the notes the same as everybody else who was here in class. Now, sometimes the notes aren't enough. You know, just looking at some examples that are written down without any explanation is not enough to get the gist of a lesson. So right below that folder, again in resources, is links to tutorials. And what I've got here is videos that I've done over the years that covers about, I'd say, 90% of my curriculum. So will these be videos, current videos of what we just did in class? No. But are they videos that pretty much cover the same concepts? Yes. And once again, they're referenced by lesson number. So right here, 1.3, solving equations with variables on both sides. If your kids click on this and we present it, what they get is a slideshow. And the reason why I've done it this way is I wanted the video to be in bite-sized chunks. Nothing's harder than having to watch a video that's, you know, umpteen minutes long. But here I've kind of got it sectioned off where there's video 1, and then maybe they take a little break, oops, and they go to video 2, watch a little more, take their notes, video 3, and so forth. And so that helps give them a more, I wouldn't say interactive, but a better understanding of what the lesson is about as opposed to just a static set of notes. Okay, so that's another resource. Okay, everybody, please feel free to use these. I would say primarily for kids who are out sick, but you know, anybody can use these too. Maybe a kid just didn't get a lesson and they want to rewatch the video to get a better understanding. Maybe you got a kid who wants to get ahead of it, and if they watch the videos ahead of time, it gives them a better idea of what the discussion is going to be about that day. Okay, but those are two biggies that I think will really help. Finally, you may notice here the tab grades. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but oh, actually, sorry, I skipped ahead. One more thing about classwork is if you go into your kids' classwork and you look through it, as I said earlier, what I'm having the kids do this year is something a little bit different, which is I'm having them look at, having them take pictures of the work so that you can look at what they've been doing in class. So if you look through here, and I'm trying not to show any names, but if you look through here, you'll notice those same assignments. But then next to a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, there's going to be these little paper clips. And what I'm having the kids get in the habit of is each and every day after we finish the work time, I'm having them take a picture of what they got done in class. So if I were to click on one of these, there's a little thumbnail and there's the pictures. And if I click on one of those thumbnails, what this is supposed to be is a record of their work overtime. Oops, I'll have to blank out that name. And so you can actually look at this and you can see, okay, how did my child spend that half hour in class? All the work time they were given, does this reflect a half hour's worth of work? Are they using their time well in class? Are they getting it done? And so you don't just see a piece of paper that comes home, you get to see what got accomplished in school, and you get to see it over time. So, you know, if I ever have a parent conference or something like that, or you just want to know, are your kids being consistently, are they using their time consistently while in class? You can just kind of thumb through these thumbnails, look at the pictures, and get to see how are they spending their work time. All right, Now, here's the final thing I wanted to get to. You might have noticed the tab grades. Do not use Google Classroom to look at grades. I am not using it for that purpose. For this is more about just keeping track of their work and how hard they work. But their grades in my class are based on what they understand. And so the grades will be, I'm going to stop my share here, will be in PowerSchool. PowerSchool is all about recording anything that shows me their understanding of things. So that'll be primarily tests, quizzes, and what we call you-do challenges, which are like little spot check mini quizzes. Okay, but anything that demonstrates their understanding, that's what goes into PowerSchool. So that's why I'm using both systems, is so that I can keep the two things separate. So if I had to put it in a nutshell, PowerSchool is about their understanding and their academic grade. Google Classroom is more about just keeping track of their daily responsibilities, and whatever I record, there's more about citizenship. Okay, so PowerSchool, academics; Google Classroom, citizenship. All right, I think that's enough info for now. But of course, if you have other questions, something you were hoping I'd cover but I didn't, please feel free to email me. Again, it's dhonda@sandy.net. I'm looking forward to a great year with your kids. We're off to an awesome start, and I hope the rest of the year is going to go as smoothly as it's going now. And I hope this video helps you. I hope some of this information was useful and that you can somehow utilize it. Have a great day.